In this video, I'm going to tell you about the Canon M200 and if it's a great streaming camera or not. Let's level up. Hello, I'm Razumazu, and on this channel I share my knowledge about tech to help you level up your skills. If you think that sounds interesting, feel free to subscribe to the channel to see more content from me. Now let's get into it. When I started streaming, I was using a Logitech StreamCam. It looked fine, but being the geek that I am, I decided to upgrade my camera. I looked long and hard and eventually ended up buying the Canon M200 because it fit my budget. Canon claims that this camera was designed specifically with streamers and vloggers in mind. But is that really true? The Canon M200 is the successor to the Canon M100, and it came out just as COVID started ravaging the world and everyone suddenly needed a webcam. The market for used cameras exploded, and especially the older Canon M50 became very popular and impossible to get your hands on. So even though it wasn't quite true, the Canon M200 got marketed as being the new Canon M50, but it really wasn't. For streaming, this camera is definitely one of the better ones you can get in that price range. When I bought it, it cost around $500 to $600, and even though you can get it cheaper now, it is still very close to that price range. I will make another video talking about the overall video capabilities of the camera, which I'm not all that positive about. But for this video, I'm only going to talk about streaming. If you pick up the camera in the $500 price range, you will get this kit lens with it. The lens is a 15 to 45 millimeter 3.5 to 6.3 f-stop lens. And this lens won't give you fantastic bokeh in the background of your stream, but it will cover most of your streaming needs. And because of its zoom capabilities, it will be usable even if you're shooting in the corner of your bedroom or if you have a dedicated streaming space where you have a longer range to the camera. One of the advantages of the M200 is that you can switch the lens to something that better suits your needs. For example, right now I am filming with the Sigma 16mm 1.4 f-stop lens. Switching to a different lens will let you get the exact look you want on your stream and give you the possibility of having the camera at different distances to you, depending on the space available and the look you want. But of course, buying new lenses is yet another expense that you might not want. However, as I just said, the kit lens that comes with the camera should cover most of your needs. One disadvantage of the M200 lens system is that it uses a newer type of lens mount called EFM. And I'm pretty sure that Canon has already dropped making more lenses for that type of mount. The EFM was used on the M series cameras, and even though it is possible to buy an adapter, so you can use regular Canon EF lenses, I would stay away from these cameras if you already own EF lenses that you want to use. Luckily, there has been an amazing series of 3 lenses for the EFM system made by Sigma. The Sigma 16mm, which I'm using here, the 30mm and the 56mm. If you want bokeh on your stream, I would recommend you get one of those lenses. If you don't know what bokeh is, it's the blurry effect you can see here in the background. I'm not nearly smart enough to know the details of how it works, but it comes from the lens being able to let in a lot of light. That's the f-stop number I keep mentioning, which makes backgrounds go blurry when the focus is closer to the lens. But actually you can also get a blurry background with the kit lens. So I think it's time we switch to that one. So I have now switched to the kit lens, and as you can see, the image changed quite a bit. Even though this video is not about the Sigma lens, now that I have it off, I just wanted to show you the size so you can compare it to the size of the kit lens. It's a lot heavier and longer and clearly contains a lot more glass than the kit lens. Now let us try out the zoom range of the kit lens, but before I do that, I want to mention one thing that is really great about this camera. The autofocus is very fast and precise. It not only tracks your face, it also tracks your eyes. So even if you move around a lot while streaming, you can be sure that the camera will keep you in focus. There is one bad thing here though. The eye tracking autofocus only works up to 1080p. This usually wouldn't be a problem when streaming because most streamers don't go above 1080p, but it is a huge problem when filming regular videos. Honestly, filming 4K videos on this camera takes a lot of work, as you constantly have to check your focus and I've just given up on it. So I film everything in 1080p and then upscale to 4K as part of my editing process. To give you an indication of what the kit lens can do, let me just measure how far away the camera is from me. It is roughly 45 centimeters from my face right now, and I have it zoomed all the way out, which would give us a focal length of about 14 millimeters. Let me just note that since this is not a full frame camera, it is actually not real 40 millimeter, but a bit larger than that. Oh, I dream of one day getting one of those full frame cameras. Anyway, let me start zooming in. So this is fully zoomed in to 45 millimeters. So as you can see, the camera has a good range of zoom. So you will be able to adjust it to your space and your needs. The way you can get a bit of bokeh on the kit lens is by making sure you've set the aperture or f-stop of the camera to the lowest possible setting. So that would be 3.5 on the kit lens. Then you need to get a fair amount of distance between you and the background, and then get fairly close to the camera. As you can see, this gives a bit of bokeh, not much, nothing near what the Sigma 16mm gives, but a little bit of bokeh is better than no bokeh, right? Now, why does Canon claim that this camera is a great streaming camera? Because it actually does have a lot of the features we need as streamers. First of all, the screen can be flipped so you can see yourself when you are streaming. This is also great for vloggers, but for a streamer, it is super important to be able to quickly look at your camera and see that everything is okay. When I started streaming and had no viewers for most of my streams, I did have a couple of times where my Logitech StreamCam just crapped out on me, and I had been streaming with no video signal through the entire session and no viewers to tell me that something was wrong. Being able to see what the camera is doing and where it is focusing is a great feature to have. Also, if you need to adjust some settings, you can actually see what it looks like while you are in frame. Second, the camera has clean HDMI output. Cameras that don't have this will show all the settings and counters that you see on the camera screen when outputting a live feed. You definitely don't want that on your stream, so clean HDMI is a must-have. Thirdly, the camera can actually be connected directly to OBS without a capture card. When COVID was at its worst, Canon released a program that lets you stream video directly into your computer through USB. I should note that yes, it works, but there's a lot of factors that can make it go bad, one of them being your own computer. So try it out, but if it doesn't work for you, you still need to get a capture card. Now let me quickly go through the settings you will need to change to use this for streaming and make it look good. This will be a very quick overview, but if you are interested in a more detailed tutorial, let me know in the comments and I will make the video for you. So there's two important settings you should be aware of when switching from a webcam to a real camera like this on your stream. The first one being the shutter speed. The shutter speed is the amount of time the camera is open to receive light for each frame it shoots. The higher this number is, the less light is being let in. However, the shutter speed is important for you when streaming because your stream will be broadcasting in a set frame rate. And if your camera is not matching this frame rate, then your video feed will look weird and be out of sync with your audio. So the rule of thumb is to always have your shutter speed be double your stream frame rate. So if your stream is broadcasting in 30 frames per second, then your shutter speed should be 1/60. If your stream is in 60 frames per second, then your shutter speed should be 1/120. That should make everything good. If you get some flicker from your lights, which is a common problem, you can always increase the shutter speed a little to make it less visible. Just don't go too high because then you will get other problems. As for the aperture or f-stop, it is a matter of preference and the light you have available. Try it out until you find something you like. But note that the camera will adjust it by itself depending on how zoomed in you are on the kit lens. Remember that the lower your f-stop, the more bokeh you get in the background. So on the kit lens, you should aim at having it at 3.5. Finally, you have ISO, which you can think of as being the digital brightness that your camera adds to the image, like when you increase the brightness setting on your TV or when you are editing photos. And here the Canon M200 is actually not so good. You should do everything you can to keep the ISO as low as possible, because the higher the ISO, the more noise you will add to the image. The noise will appear as these small gray dots in the dark areas of the image. I have a dark wall here behind me, and if I crank the ISO up above 800, then it starts looking really bad. So as a rule of thumb, keep your ISO as low as possible and add more lights to your shot instead of bumping up the ISO. So would I recommend this camera for streamers? These days there are better options out there. The Sony ZV-E10 is a great camera for YouTube and for streaming, and some of the older A-series cameras are also great options. However, the Canon M2 sits in a price range where it is consistently, at least here in Denmark where I'm at, cheaper than the alternatives. If you are to only use this camera for streaming, then I would say go for it. Maybe get one of these great Sigma lenses to increase the image quality and a good light, and then you have a streaming setup that will be hard to beat for the price. However, if you want to use the camera for other types of video, like YouTube, then I would say you should look somewhere else. I will soon have, or might already have, depending on when you watch this, a video on why I think you should stay away from the Canon M200 for video production. But to sum it up, if you're recording to a memory card, the camera overheats after about 10 to 30 minutes of recording, which actually makes it completely useless. Sadly, this is a common problem with Canon cameras, and it is extremely annoying. I'm recording directly into my computer using OBS, which is the only reason why it isn't overheating right now. When streaming, you also use OBS and not the record functionality in the camera, so don't worry, it won't overheat during your stream. So summed up, for streaming, the Canon M200 is great. For video recording, not so much. If you want to watch the camera on a live stream, you can drop me a follow over on Twitch to get notified when I go live. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, I hope you will help me out by subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions about the camera, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm Razmazo, and I hope to see you in my next video.